Hi everyone, welcome to Enreason, the daily current affair analysis program from Team Enlight. So today we are going to discuss four topics. One is about the Conference of Parties that is being held at Glasgow. So we'll be discussing on the background information about COP26 to UNFCCC and some important facts about UNFCCC and Paris Agreement and what should be the approach with respect to mains perspective in this topic. Okay. So the next topic is PM Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana. So we'll be discussing the facts which are important for prelims, as well as this topic will be discussed in a mains perspective. So what are the important factors with respect to mains perspective in this topic will be discussed. The third important topic is sovereign gold bonds. This will be discussed in a prelims point of view. And the fourth important topic is Periyar River and Mullaperiyar Dam. So we'll be discussing facts in a prelims point of view, as well as dam safety in a mains perspective. Okay, so we'll move on to our first topic, that is Conference of Parties 26. Okay, so the 26th annual Conference of Parties to UNFCCC will be held in Glasgow, Scotland from October 31st. Okay, and this is being presided by the United Kingdom. So since this particular conference is not yet being held, we'll be discussing what are the major focus areas of the conference. So you can add on to it once the conference is complete and there is the outcome document, you can add on to these particular focus area what is been the outcome. Okay, so the agendas to focus is, one is to securing global net zero emission by mid-century to keep the 1.5 degree target within reach. The next important aspect is regarding mobilizing climate finance, since already in Paris Agreement it was reiterated that the developed countries will be providing about $100 billion in climate finance every year. So that will be discussed in COP26. And with regard to this, the Conference of Parties have already started something called the Glasgow Financial Alliance for Net Zero. Okay, so also keep that too in your mind. Now, the third important focus area is to adapt to protect communities and natural habitats. The fourth important aspect is working together to deliver. So in this respect, the countries that are parties to the conference will be working together to finalize the rules for rules of procedure for implementing the Paris Climate Agreement. So these are the four key areas to be focused, that will be focused on COP26. So while the outcome document of COP26 comes out, you can enrich your notes based on these four focus areas. Okay, so another important point in this particular topic is regarding United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Okay. So the UNFCCC is the outcome of the Rio Earth Summit that was held in 1992, and this entered into force in 1994, and this aims at preventing dangerous human interference to climate systems. Okay, and the countries that have ratified this particular convention are called parties to the convention, and they meet annually at the Conference of Parties. So the last Conference of Parties was postponed because of COVID crisis, which is being held now. Okay, and this particular convention, it lays down the principles on which climate action of countries are to be based on, and also remember that this works on the principle of common but differential responsibilities. Okay, that is why the Kyoto Protocol under this convention is having different responsibilities or different targets for both developed as well as developing countries. Okay. Now there are certain important conference of parties and their outcomes. So keep in mind which are the important conferences of parties and their outcomes, because all of this can be important for your prelims. Okay, so I am not going into detail about that. Okay, so now we'll move on to our next part, that is about the Paris Agreement. So it was in COP21 in 2015 that the Paris Agreement came into being. So it is a legally binding international treaty on climate change that was entered into force in 2016, and it aims at limiting the global warming below 2 degrees Celsius and preferably to 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to the pre-industrial levels. Okay, and according to this particular agreement, countries have to put forward certain nationally determined contributions, or NDCs, with respect to emission reduction, and the countries' contributions towards this NDC will be tracked through a system called the Enhanced Transparency Framework and Global Stocktake, which will act periodically. Okay, and again, you have to also keep in mind what is India's contribution with respect to the INDC target. Okay, so in a mains perspective, how this particular topic has to be approached. Okay, so this can be important from a international relations point of view in GS2 as well as in the environment perspective in GS3. So with respect to Paris Climate Agreement, you can understand, you have to keep in mind while preparing mains, what is the significance of Paris Climate Agreement or the UNFCCC, okay, and what are the NDC targets of India, and what is the situation of current implementational situation of INDC in India, what are the implementational bottlenecks that can happen, and what can be a way forward to tackle such bottlenecks. Okay, and with respect to climate change, you can understand the climate change vulnerability of India and what are the ways in which the impact of climate change can be tackled. Especially you can focus on areas such as agriculture, disaster management, etc. Okay, so there is a previous year question. So in various prelims questions has been asked from Paris Agreement and UNFCCC a lot. So go through the question and understand what kind of questions are being asked and prepare based on that. Okay, so we'll move on to our next topic, that is PM Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana. So this is in news because this particular scheme was launched by the Prime Minister today. So the key facts about it is that this was proposed in Budget 2021-22. And this is a pan-India scheme that is aimed at improving the critical health infrastructure. Okay, so it aims at improving the health infrastructure, and this will be functioning in addition to the National Health Mission. So already we have discussed the National Health Mission and health sector in Embracen. So you can go through the link that is given in the description and understand more about National Health Mission and health sector in India and the concerns with regard to health sector in India. Okay, so the important aspect with respect to this scheme is to fill the critical gap in public health infrastructure in both rural as well as urban areas. So it is not focused on rural area or just focused on urban area. It focuses both on rural and urban areas. Okay, and especially in rural areas, it aims to support the rural health and wellness centers in 10 high focus states. Okay, and in urban area is it aims to establish urban health and wellness centers in all states. Okay, and it also aims to improve diagnostic services, and this will be done through a network of labs or an integrated public health lab to be established in all districts also. Okay, and it also aims to improve or build an IT enabled disease surveillance system for the country. Okay, and it also it is said that this particular scheme will be launching or establishing a National Institute for One Health, National Institute for Virology, etc. Okay, and it also aims at improving the capacity of the workforce to handle public health emergencies like that of COVID-19. Okay, so in a mains perspective, this becomes important because health sector is part of your GS2 syllabus, and particularly since this is a major initiative that is being brought about after the COVID-19 pandemic, you have to concern yourself with the issues concerning health sector and how this particular scheme can address these concerns. For example, it is following the One Health approach, it is following an IT enabled system, it focuses on infrastructure development, etc. Okay, so you can prepare an analysis of this particular scheme with respect to your GS2 health sector syllabus topic. Okay, the next topic is about sovereign gold bonds. So this was in news because the sovereign gold bond offering is open from today. So the key facts to be remembered are this was introduced to reduce the import dependence on gold, and it was launched in 2015, and this is a government securities denominated in grams of gold, and it is issued by the RBI on behalf of the Government of India. These can be used as substitute for holding physical gold. Hence, it can also be used as collateral for loans. Okay, and it can also be used by banks towards their SLR requirements. Okay, so it is denominated in grams, and the tenor is 8 years, and it is having an exit option from 5 years. Okay, and keep in mind that it is restricted for sale to resident individuals, Hindu undivided families, trusts, universities, charitable institutions. Okay, and also it is sold through the scheduled commercial banks, recognized stock exchanges like NSE, BSE, etc., and it can also be traded in stock exchanges. Okay, so this is all about the sovereign gold bonds. We'll move on to our next topic, that is Periyar River and Mullaperiyar Dam. So since there has been because of the frequent recent rains, villages near Periyar Bank is in alert mode because of a threat from floods. Okay, so that is the reason why this was in news. About Periyar River, the key fact to be remembered are one is that it is the longest river in Kerala, and it is known as the lifeline of Kerala. It originates in the Western Ghats and it drains to Arabian Sea. Okay, and a majority of its basin lies in Kerala, and it flows through the Periyar National Park, and there is also a Periyar Lake that is formed by a dam constructed in 1985 in this river. And from water from this Periyar Lake is diverted to the Vaigai River of Tamil Nadu, so it is also important for water security in Tamil Nadu as well. Okay, and the major tributaries are Mudirapuzha, Idamalayar, Perinjakutti and Cherudoni. Okay, so there are some major hydel plants in this Periyar River. One important one is the Idukki Hydel Power Plant, Neriyamangalam plant, etc. Okay, Idukki is very important because it serves to the majority of electricity need of Kerala state. Okay, now about Mullaperiyar Dam. So it was in news because of the clashes between Kerala and Tamil Nadu with respect to water sharing and dam safety. So this was a gravity dam that was built between 1887 and 1895, and it is almost 126 years old. That is why there are concerns regarding the dam safety of this particular dam. It is built in the confluence of Mullayyar and Periyar River, hence the name Mullaperiyar. Okay, and it is, even though it is located in Kerala, it is being operated and managed by Tamil Nadu, and this is under a particular lease agreement that was during British rule, and this lease agreement extends for about 999 years. Okay, and this particular dam ensures water availability to rain shadow regions of Tamil Nadu, so it is very important for them. Okay, so in a mains perspective, this can be discussed in both GS2 and GS3 since the river water disputes in India as a part of issues concerning federalism. Okay, so you have to be prepared about the constitutional provisions with respect to river water disputes, the tribunals and their functioning, and what are the concerns with respect to the functioning of tribunals, as well as the interstate river water disputes amendment bill that was introduced. Okay, and whether it is possible to if it is possible to solve the concerns with respect to tribunals through this particular bill or not. Okay, again in a GS3 perspective, dam safety is important in disaster management perspective, so you have to understand why dam safety is important in India. Okay, and what are the existing mechanisms with respect to dam safety. We have the Central Dam Safety Organization, and there was a draft dam safety bill. Go through the provisions of the bill. Okay, and also there are certain projects such as the Dam Rehabilitation and Improvement Project. So this is a World Bank assisted project that was launched in 2012, which is aimed at improving the dam safety in India. Okay, and what are the mechanisms that can be put forward with respect to improving dam safety in India. Okay, so these aspects can be discussed in a mains perspective. Okay, so this is all about today's In Reason. I hope it was helpful to all of you. Thank you for watching.